Hey, power movers. I'm here with Marnie Wills, and Marnie is an entrepreneur and she's embracing AI. And just here to hear all about it. So, Marnie, welcome.
Thanks, Roy. It's good to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, how do you get to be doing the AI game?
I know it's a bit crazy. If anyone had told me that I would call myself a vibe coder and be known as an AI trainer and strategist, I think I would have just laughed because I love all things sport and I grew up playing sport in Australia. Wanted to be a PE teacher from the age of 5, would bunk as many classes as possible just to get out on the field and be playing. To be fair, it was probably the only thing that got me through school and through uni was being so driven to become a PE teacher, which I did. I graduated in 2004 as a physical education and secondary science teacher. And then massive change happened. There were no jobs on the coast in Australia where I grew up because everybody wanted to be a PE teacher and there wasn't many jobs. So you get sent rural, and this name will make you laugh. I got sent to a place called Gundawindi, which basically is 6 hours from anywhere. And I just didn't think I could hack it, if I'm honest. An opportunity come up to move to the UK and play a bit of netball. Netball was my main sport at the time, so I took it. And then it was really easy to get jobs over here in London. And it wasn't long before I was moving up the ranks within the education sector in London. But there was a lot of schools where I was like on danger pay, which I just then fell out of love with teaching PE, especially
How do you
because
get onto danger pay?
yeah. I mean, there's some academies in London which are tough, right? Yeah, to keep teachers and keep a bit of consistency, you get paid a little bit extra and they call it danger pay. There was some really
Wow.
not nice stuff. A couple of children have been stabbed or died, or unfortunately, not nice things done to some girls in the toilet. It was honestly not very nice. And I think I learned a lot about myself in that time of why do I do what I do? And I think I like to, as a person, see progression in people. And I realized that through all of my sport, I managed to represent England for netball and touch rugby for England as well. And I did that for quite a long period of time. And I realized that I love working with kind of high performance and I love the mindset related to being a high performer. And I realized that I needed to change my environment. So I tried a few different types of schools. So I went to a private school, I went to a primary school, I worked as a school sports partnership. So I just tried a whole lot of different things. And it was all going really well, like progressing through, finding different love. It sounds from the outlook, talking about it sounds like great opportunities. But for me, because I was so set on being a PE teacher my whole life, actually making those changes initially, because I wasn't enjoying it, was actually hard. But I was just trying to find a bit more purpose because I wasn't getting it initially. Anyway, fast forward to 2013, and it was a big year for me. I'd gone to Dublin to play touch rugby. I was off to South Africa to play netball, but I was a head of netball at a private school in Bromley, and the TED teacher basically said I couldn't go. She just said, you've already had loads of time off. And I said, yeah, but I'm your head of netball and I'm going to go and put an England dress on, right, to play netball. And she just said, we can't give you that time off. So I just resigned. And then just thought, oh, just thought I was already in my late 20s by that point, or mid to late 20s. It was important that I didn't have many years representing my country at sport. Admittedly, they were all amateur, expenses paid. I wasn't paid, because she said, well, if you were a professional, it'd be a different story. And I was like, if I was professional, I wouldn't be here. And I'm so pleased. That was 2013. So I'm so pleased 12 years later, women's sport, they do get paid, admittedly nowhere near as much as they should, or with the men, it's definitely a progression for women in sport, which I'm a massive advocate for. Yeah, I decided to put my resignation in. I thought I can start a business. Like most entrepreneurs, we've got quite a lot of ideas. So I didn't start one business, I started two. So I had a health and fitness business, just started delivering functional fitness sessions on the Common in London for amateur athletes that would get injured a lot because your general gym programs just wouldn't be sufficient enough for the load they were putting on their body and the movements they were doing. And then I saw a massive gap in the market it to teach early years physical education, because I was getting girls, especially girls 11, who didn't know the fundamentals: jump, land, throw, catch. And then I would get boys that hated PE because they didn't play football. But physical education, the subject, is not about football. So it's one sport in one area of physical education, which has 7 areas of learning. I soon found a bit of a gap in the market and launched my early years physical education business. All going well, traveling the world, playing sport, happy days, had my first baby, all good. COVID hit when everything went online, which actually I loved. I loved. It just worked with my brain, like almost looking at like sales funnel. And I doubled down on marketing because marketing changed massively. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. And then I kept my health and fitness business online because the profit margins were so much better, not having to pay for studio space and that type thing. And then I decided that I would franchise my early years physical education business. And I hired a copywriter. But the copywriter, although she was awesome, didn't quite give me what I needed. So I discovered an AI tool called Jasper AI. And that was actually back in 2021, like crazy. So it was open AI. So it was like what we know now as ChatGPT. It was the early version. And it was just in a wrapper. So Jasper AI, it was just a platform that used that open AI platform at the time. And yeah, like it was absolutely, I know this word gets overused, but I'm not exaggerating. It was game changing for me. I wasn't good at writing. I didn't really know what I wanted in my franchisee. And it just, yeah. So when ChatGPT did come out, I was already in, right? I already had a kind of almost that AI first mindset. How can AI help me collaborate with me? How can I get it to get my genius out? How can I get it to get my message across? Like I already had that when ChatGPT came out. Early adopter, I used ChatGPT to redesign my franchise opportunity through my early years physical education business to business partnerships. So instead of selling a franchise, I now sell a business partnership opportunity where we co-own and start a region together. So that's been super successful. We're up to 5 business partners now, and I absolutely love that journey. And I love business startup, and that kind of works really nice for me, and giving people opportunities and painting the picture of what could be. And then I managed to exit my health and fitness business early 2024 because I created a lot of digital assets thanks to ChatGPT. And so one of my trainers were able to buy a lot of my assets off me and rebrand them. So then just over a year ago, it was actually June 2024, I decided to do some AI training into some local businesses. And when I say AI training back then, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was just like, what is generative AI?
Decades ago in AI time.
I know, right? What is generative AI? What is ChatGPT? Just crushing the myths about using it, being techie, too old. It's going to take everybody's jobs. And to be fair, back then, I probably would have said, yeah, it might do. Like I probably definitely wasn't as established in my thought leadership concepts around where I think generative AI is having a transformation in business. But yeah, it was a journey in that first 6 months of delivering workshops and helping businesses. And then, yeah, at the beginning of the year, 2025, I went into the consultancy world, consult on AI transformations for businesses. And then where are we now? October, get opportunities to talk to people like you, talk about all things business and life. And yeah, really enjoying the journey. So there we are.
Amazing. And you, yeah, having the sporting background, I presume you have a routine that is non-negotiable on your physical and mental side. So let's talk a little bit about that. I love the approach that I've got at the moment that I've worked on quite hard, is getting my breath work and getting my meditation in, getting my cold exposure in, getting some PT in. And if I don't get that 4 or 5 days a week, or 4 or 5 times a week, then I just don't perform as well. How do you approach that? How do you weave that into what you do?
Yeah, I really love that. And I'm really pleased that we are having this conversation now and not 2 weeks ago. Because 2 weeks ago, I was definitely heading towards some type of burnout. And I realized just last week I was on a business retreat at the Belfry in Birmingham. And the first workshop we did was performance. And I think that what has got me where I am now has been my high performance habits, which I'll list off my routines in a second. But what's going to get me to my next level I'm going to need to think about some additions to that. What are the tweaks that are going to need to my current habits? What's serving me now? What's not? What have I outgrown? What's not challenging me? I just felt very comfortable. And I was like, this is not good for my next level. And then because I wasn't feeling like I was pushing to that next level, I then was in a mindset of frustration, big word, like massive frustration, feeling overworked, like I was doing lots of extra things to help people, but then I wasn't really helping people because actually I was doing too much for them. Sometimes, and I know you know this and your audience do as well, sometimes you can do too much for people, which doesn't help them at all. And I was really doing that. And then the kind of resentment was coming in about that. And just all my feelings were getting on top of me. And when I say burnout, I wasn't burnout as in I didn't get up. It wasn't that extreme. I think what I meant was burnout with that mental capacity, because I was having too many negative thoughts too often during the day.
Yeah.
And I think that I thrive myself to be the person that does 4 top things for me. One is I love setting intentions. I make sure my intentions are set for the week. Sometimes even in the morning, my intentions are set for the day. Sometimes they're not, because I'm a mum of 2 and my first 3 hours of the day is my mum duty. And then normally I'm like chasing my tail or whatever. But I will always set my intentions at the beginning of the week of what I want to achieve. And I also, when I put in that what I want to achieve, I link it to the energy I want to feel. Because if I put that energy, so energy of like clarity energy, or like CEO energy or high performance energy, or family, mum, supportive energy, if I don't put that energy link, I almost don't show up in the right energy. Like I have to make that link. Lots of people talk about emotions, linked to emotions, but for me, that doesn't work, because I think I'm so driven sometimes that I'll overcome any emotions I'm feeling and I'll put them aside. So the emotions doesn't work for me, but the energy does. What energy do I want to show up as? That works for me. So yeah, intention setting for me is the first one. The second one is reflection, or like reflection time, or I just call it like mental load offloading time. I try and make sure there's something transitioned in my diary at least every day for that, whether that's in the evening or whether that's, I just talked to you about what have you been up to today. I said, oh, I went to the gym and had a cheeky jacuzzi. And that was my reflection, my reset time. I need to make sure I do that. And then my third like high performance habit is me physically feeling like I am looking after my body. And everybody looks different. What do I want to be fit for purpose for at the moment? What do I need to be fit for purpose for? And how am I physically looking after myself? And then my last one, which is probably where I really felt let down in the last couple of months, which I realized last weekend, was social. A high performance habit for me is being social. I can hide away sometimes. I am very driven. So if I've got something on my list or my intentions or my goals, I am like all head down to get that done. And I forget that actually the ability to socialize, whether that be with one person, a lot of people showing up, it sometimes even that socializing is with my children. I know that sounds silly, but like I need to get out of my own head and be present with other people. And that is like my 4 high performance habits, that if I somehow am not really aware of any of them and I consistently let myself down, and that is when the overwhelm hits for me and a little bit of the mental load burnout comes.
Yeah, I like that. I think the reality for me, and I said to you, I just spent the day teaching high performance leaders at Cranfield University Breathwork. And yeah, the reality is that if we don't look after ourselves, we cannot show up for others. Yeah, and I know that's almost, oh yes, obviously, but people don't live it, right? They don't live it. And yeah, I talk about energy a lot, the same as you're alluding to there. And there's the energy that we're given every day. And we're given a pot of 100% of energy. And if we are thinking about yesterday and thinking about the things we haven't done, we give some energy to yesterday. And if we're thinking about tomorrow and what's coming, we're giving some energy to tomorrow. So now we don't have the energy. And for me, this is my routine is a morning routine, so I can set myself up for the day. Breath work, meditation, BT, cold exposure. And those things just clear away the energy. You do something hard in the morning, and cold exposure, no matter how you do it, is hard, right?
Yeah.
I've done 1,500, 2,000 ice baths, And every time I get in, it's, what do I
What am I
do?
doing?
Why am I doing this? And I've just spent 10 days in Egypt. So tomorrow when I get in the ice bath, it's going to be really cold. Yeah, because even the cold showers in Egypt are a lot warmer than the cold showers here. So I think it's so important, especially as entrepreneurs, that we respect that we have to look after ourselves. And I like the other thing you were saying there about reinventing that, because as a sports person, you spent your whole life going through getting better and getting better and getting better. And we get comfortable, then we don't get better. Yeah, I love learning. I spend all day learning about all sorts of things, and I dig into
Yeah.
learning, and that's something that really feeds me. And yeah, if I'm not learning, I start feeling very stale. But I've also got to, I'm going to stop learning at some stages so that I can do. So that becomes the bit of a challenge. And yeah,
Yeah.
this
And
process
it,
of flushing out my previous emotions, breath work is so good with that. I don't know if you've done any breath work, but yeah, doing the breath work to flush out my emotions every day, that really helps. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, really interesting. I think I figured out last week at the retreat I was at, the business retreat I was at, one of the kind of next level things that I'm going to start doing. And it was, and I don't know if you've heard of this, and I wish I remembered the author that put this together. I might have to go away and look for it. But it is the difference between the gap and the gains mindset. So I think I've been, because I'm so driven and I felt like I was getting frustrated, I think I spend a lot of time in the gap mindset of, oh gosh, I haven't reached that goal yet, or I haven't done what I said I was going to do there yet, or I haven't managed to deliver this, or I thought I would be further along in my training, like the gap, like it's in that gap mindset of, this is where I started, this is where I want to get, but I'm so focused on why I haven't got there yet. I'm like over analyzing why I haven't got there yet, and not trusting the process or getting really frustrated. So the energy and the thoughts that come around in that gap mindset is really limited thinking. There's a little bit of fear, frustration, resentment, like I said already. There's quite a lot that hangs out in that area for me. So one thing that I'm trying to work on now is move to that gains mindset of, look where I started, look where I am now, look at what I've gained to get there, and then reflect and go, these 3 gains are what's going to propel me to get to where I'm hoping to get to. And I think that automatically, I don't know, I felt that already just talking to you. Like I already felt like almost like that next authority level of, yeah, that's exactly where I just automatically, something came through my body just by saying, look how far I've come already, and just reflecting on what I've done to get where I am now and what can I take forward to get to where I want to go. So that gains mindset. So that's one of the things that I've been working on this week.
I think there's something in that. Randomly, one of the things that I have done and done a fair amount of is coaching people to fly in the wind tunnel. So I coach skydiving and I coach wind tunnel flying.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah,
I love it. I love it.
and skydivers are entrepreneurial by nature in that they're always pushing and pushing and they're always trying to, and they get very much into that gap mindset. I just want to be, how many times I've heard somebody come and say, I just want to be able to do this, I just want to be able to do that. And I learned a while ago that going through and going to the next level, there's always another level. There's always another level. There's always some guy who's 20 years old who's just going to fly rings around you, and you're always going to want to push there. And if you can't enjoy the journey, if you can't enjoy the process of learning, then don't bother doing it.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're just going to keep on pushing, and that comes back to what I was saying earlier about energy, because by doing the gap mindset, you're actually giving energy to the future. You don't have it today. You can't spend that energy today. And if you don't have it today, if you think about what that's actually doing for you, right, you're not able to put the energy into today, so you don't get the outcomes today, and you don't get the progress today. And it's just this in learning to enjoy the moment in everything we do. I mean, this morning I woke up, we took Claude. Have you used Claude much?
Oh, Claude's my go-to.
There's a Sonnet 4.5 is out now, and yeah, I was trying the new version this morning and using a couple of different pieces, and it just blew my mind entirely again at how detailed and how well it's interacting and responding. And yeah, I then went to chat because I put them next to each other. So I use GenSpark, I use Claude, I use ChatGPT, I use Gemini, and put them together and just see which is which. And ChatGPT, yeah, not so much at the moment, but they've really taken a slight dive down in my estimation, my own humble estimation. And Claude just entirely blew. I was able to normally with ChatGPT, when you go in and you say, okay, I need a long list of things done, it'll do the first 5 things well, and then the rest of the list it won't do. Yeah, I literally had this entire list that just spat out for me in Claude. So again, where it would have taken me, I think when we started using AI, both of us, it was this case of, okay, I don't write very well either. I don't touch type, and being able to vocalize and then getting that vocalization to come out and my thoughts to appear on a page and then to adjust those thoughts, keeping the thought leadership for sure was just such a game changer. It just allowed me to do so much more. Now you're getting to the stage where these things just become better and better.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't already, both Claude and ChatGPT have gone very, very bespoke down the agentic workflows. So ChatGPT have released SDK and their agent mode has really upped the vibe. But Claude was amazing. So last night I had a play around with, have you used the Imagine?
No, but it's on the next list for this afternoon.
Honestly, you are going to be blown away and you're going to have so much fun. It is out of this world. The only thing that I tell you what I loved about it, and this is a mindset thing. Pushing my dog down, sorry, please go away. This is a mindset thing. So we are now working with generative AI that you can almost give an outcome that you want with some context and a little bit more openness about how the agent's going to achieve it. And then you let the agent do the thinking of how they're going to achieve what you want. And that is a different way to think of it. Because if we think about a general chat, we've been going and we've been, can you do this for me? And, oh, I'm looking for you to be able to write this content, or can you be my brainstorm partner on this? But it's so narrow thinking. It's almost like we have to give it step by step to get to where we want to.
Yeah.
Like we all have to change, like almost what we do in life when we set 1, 3, 5 year goals or whatever, like where do you want to get? And then sometimes that's the vision, right? The mission, the vision. And then if we break that down into strategy and then you break that down to tactics, and sometimes you don't know the tactics, you only know the strategy. And then other times you know the tactics, but you're not quite sure how it fits into the strategy. But at the end of the day, you still have your mission and your vision. And I think that's the same when working with an AI, especially now that the agent modes can get out of this world, what they can do. Just hit them with a mission or a vision or an outcome, hit them with that. Give it some context about the strategy of why you need to do it, and then let it do the tactics. Let it do that for it because it's the smartest thing. Keep adding that domain expertise in, which is your personal knowledge, experience, and perspective. Because at the end of the day, generative AI got as smart as it is from our human knowledge. And it's at the point now where it keeps training on our human knowledge, but it's training on its own knowledge now. And if we don't keep adding as much human domain expertise as possible, we're going to have AIs in 2030 that are just AI trained on AI. There's not enough per human elements to any of their training. So it's really important that we think about that ethically of adding as much point as possible. But going back to that mindset, it's give them a mission, give the agent a mission, maybe give it some context or add in a bit of strategy, and then leave the rest of the strategy and the tactics to it and let it just blow your mind about what it can achieve. And at the end of the day, I believe AI is here to amplify our intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think on that point as well, we've spoken a couple of times about thought leadership, and I think that's a very important piece of AI. I've been using a lot of N8N and Make.com and Zapier and these automations and flows. And as you go through the process of actually setting these things up and working with them, you end up understanding that you have to still keep being
Sorry.
being the Hello, how are you?
Sorry, everybody.
No worries. Yeah, and being the architect, right? Yeah, there's this architectural role in AI now that I think there's going to be a few select humans that end up doing very well. And
Yeah, 100%.
without this architect role, yes, I can go to a Claude and say I'm building an n8n workflow and I want to do this and this, and it'll go off and it'll do a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, and then there's 10% of it, or 20%, or 30% that just won't work as well. And if you don't
Yeah.
keep that human kind of element of, right, I'm the thought leader, I'm running the show here, yeah, and I want you to help me. Oh, but you're doing this wrong. Oh, but you're doing that wrong. Oh, but you're doing this wrong. Yeah, you end up getting something that's not created by you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that's just keep on feeding. And this is my vision. This is my goal. These are my words. Yeah, and I feel that's really where the power is going to come from. If we can bring, like you said, you can keep on bringing more human into it and keep on bringing the human up to the top. And AI is pretty good at emotion now. Yeah, but when you can tell the difference, right? You can tell the difference if you don't bring it in. And that's, I think, what people start using it. They start using ChatGPT and yeah, it's okay. Yeah, and then they hum and haw about it because they haven't come back and reiterated until they've got to almost their own words, but not quite their own words. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think also we don't realize that there is actually an element of the education of AI. Like, we have been given generative AI models to play with. The numbers are endless. I think we're up to something like 22, 23 AI models. Like, it's insane what's available. And we don't really know how to use it. And we're like playing around and testing and trying to keep up with things. But there is an element of the education of AI, like AI literacy. Do you know the security measures? Do you realize some of the little arts of prompting? Do you realize that you can customize your AI? Do you realize you can use deep research? Do you realize you can add a second brain to your AI by creating a project or a space or an agent, as it's called in Microsoft Copilot? That second brain is extra files and then custom instructions. Do you realize you can do that? Oh, and then do you realize you can now use an agentic workflow, so an agent mode, an agent that, again, you give it an outcome and then an outcome of what you want, and then it sends off the agents that it needs to do to achieve that for you. Did you realize that you can do something called vibe coding, which is basically talking to an agent, telling them what you want, and it goes off and creates the code and creates it for you? Like, the thing is, we don't know we can actually do that yet, and we're using it so simply because we haven't understood that there is actually the education of AI. Like, you do need to learn how to use this amazing technology, not just for business, but for life. I got to guest on a podcast last night, which was amazing. It was called the Two Mums podcast, I think. And I had to riff on like all of the ways that I use AI for life, not anything to do with business. It was so much fun. I talk about my recipe. I call it Recipe Rascal, a project in Gemini. I've got it. It's a gem in Gemini. And I just take pictures of our fridge, and it's trained on all things about my children, what they like, what they don't. Take a picture and like, help me create a meal. And this is how we did sausage and mash. And my young one goes, we had this just the other day. And I was like, no, we didn't. Gemini, when did I last cook this? Oh, yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. And even this morning, we were driving to school. Gemini is my favorite to talk to. It's probably because it's a bit more educational and the vibes, not, I don't know, corny, like it's quite a nice vibe. So we're driving to school this morning and the moon is out, like full moon. It's absolutely beautiful. So I said, oh, I wonder why that's out. And my 4-year-old obviously didn't know over her head. And my 8-year-old knew probably a little bit more than me, to be fair. She loves learning information. I said, let's ask Gemini. So you jump onto Gemini. Gemini, we're in Oxfordshire in the UK. It's 8 a.m. We can see a full moon. Can you explain why we can see that? And then I said, oh, Evie's here. She's 4. She's going to ask you some questions. And then I think Evie's question was, how come I can't see the stars right now when I can see the moon? And then Ella Rose is my oldest one. And her question was something about the sun being a star or something like that. And we just ended up talking to Gemini all morning, learning something, but it was fun. Yeah, I don't know how to get to that point, but I think the point of AI is we can't just think about it for business. In my opinion, we can't just think about it as business processes or saving time. We have to think about it as a whole.
Yeah, I'll dig into that. I'll dig into that a little bit more. You mentioned right at the beginning of the conversation about the brainstorming, and I use AI specifically to help me unload my mind.
Mm.
So I brain dump everything into it. Yeah, and especially when right now, I don't have very much to brain dump because I've just got back from Egypt. Yeah, so my mind's quite empty. Yeah, but yeah, when I do get to the point of, okay, I've got this on, I've got this on, I've got this on, over the next couple of days, I'll just, this is my goal for the next 3 weeks. Yeah, I need to get these things done, and I'm just going to brainstorm everything that's in my mind. And can you give me a list of what order I should do it in? So that's very useful. And then I've used ChatGPT extensively in the past, the talking function, to actually have you sit down. I'm an engineer, or I was an engineer for many years, and I learned something early on that if there's one engineer sitting working on a problem, it might take a while. But I put another engineer sitting next to him, and they just have a conversation, and it gets done much quicker. So how do we use this technology to supplement the human condition? Right. How do we use this technology to actually say, okay, yeah, AI is the next evolution. Yeah. And instead of thinking inside our brains, now we can start thinking outside our brains. And that's a bit of an odd statement, but let me go in a little bit deeper. Yeah. Beforehand, we take books and we learn, right? Yeah. And then we process internally and we come out with something. But nowadays, we don't. We don't have to do it anymore. We just need to know what the problem is. Yeah, and then we can go out and the information is stored in other places outside. And we can then go in, yeah, and solve the problem. So, yeah, I'm just able to do so much more with so much less internal processing that I think if we can start using AI in that format, yeah, and teaching that, yeah, the kids, the way the youngsters are using it is so much different from the way we use it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting play. I think, where are we going to be in schools? Where are we going to be in universities? Where are we going to be in all these other places? Because now we can actually solve much bigger problems because we have access to all the knowledge everywhere. And information is no longer an expensive thing. So.
No, 100%. The leverage has changed. I think back in the day, it was people were the leverage, and then it was labor. It was a group of people, thanks to manufacturing, and then leverage become the ability to raise capital. And then the leverage became the ability to hit big markets via the internet. And then the next leverage became media, right? Like you could get a piece of content out there. That was leverage. The internet was coding, so that was the leverage. And then we're up to media. And then I think with AI, the leverage is the ability to create products, services to solve a problem at the speed of light,
Yeah.
without needing any of those leverages we've had before, without needing people, without needing labor, without needing money, without needing code, and without needing media. So
Yeah.
all of those are out the window. We are at the point where all it is solving problems. You know, if you could pick a problem to solve and you're full of ideas, you can MVP it at any point and you can progress from there. And I think that's really exciting. But I think that's also a bit scary because traditional businesses are going to need to learn how to adjust to that. And there was a stat that I was talking about to a recruitment company this morning that I was doing a workshop with, because it's very relevant for them. And Gen Alpha, I think I might have told this stat to you before, Gen Alpha, who were born 2010 to 2013, 64% of their jobs do not currently exist, and they'll be in the workforce by 2030. But also another stat that's really important is 76% of them want to start their own business. They want to be entrepreneurs.
Wow.
Only 13% of them want to work for other people. So how does that work with the shift that we're doing now? Will businesses end up having more consultants or contractors? Will there be more shares in a business? Will people be doing business partnerships because they want to be entrepreneurs? They don't want to come in at the traditional bottom level and work themselves up. They're only going to be, the stats are 13% that will want to work for somebody else. 76% of them want to start their own business, and 64% of their jobs do not currently exist. I can't even wrap my head around, even though I'm in the industry and I know where we're going. I know we're all going to have agents that are set up to do a lot of tasks for us. I do believe that if you're in the leisure industry, you're in a good position because people are going to want to crave human connection. I do believe that there's a massive shift in education, online education. We are implement information for free, implementation for a fee. Online courses are going to be dead. Like all of that is massively changing. And I know that, but I still can't get my head around what on earth it's going to look like. Yeah, really interesting.
How do we go now into this next stage? And actually, I always used to pride myself on being able to look forward 5 years and see where things were going.
Same.
And now I've got, if I can do 3 months, I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
quite happy. What I do see happening, and you know, there's going to be, like you say, leisure, travel, people that are massage people and physically using their hands and interacting with people. Those will be a much more attractive position. Yeah, but then you're going to have all the 70% of people that are currently not working flowing into those jobs. The plumbers, the electricians, the builders, there's going to be a flux there. So it's going to be this really intense change of what we're doing. And yeah, it's where it goes, who knows?
God, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering now, though, what do you think about the adoption of AI across companies? What are you seeing out there? Yeah, there's so many people. Yes, I use ChatGPT, and 95% of people that are using ChatGPT are maybe rewriting emails. Yeah, and there's this perception that, oh, it's going to make me lazy. And yes, it will in some cases, but it can also make you a much deeper thinker.
Yeah, but the calculator didn't make us lazy, and the Excel spreadsheet didn't make us lazy. It made us more powerful.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm probably different to you in many ways in my thoughts because I do not start with automations, and I know that's where your superpower is. So yeah, I don't start with automations. I start with how do we amplify the human in every element of what they're doing? How do we change their job description so their job description is them using AI powered workflows? So that's where I start. And I often start with a couple of things like, what AI system are you guys as the business using? And does the business own the intellectual property? You'd be surprised at how many SMEs I work with, a creative agency the other day, where they're all using personal ChatGPT accounts and they're trying to sell in 2 years. And I'm like, you don't own any data. Like, it's got nothing to do with data security or IP. They don't have any secure information about any of the clients, anything like that. They don't have any of that. That's not the problem. They're all creative. They're just doing proposals. I'm like, what if one of the ladies there's called Zoe? What if Zoe leaves? You can't access any of her chats. So that's the first thing of, okay, we are moving to using AI every day. How are you keeping it within the business for intellectual property? Because if you need to go and try and chain an agent to create your templates for some of your creative stuff, how do you do that if you don't have the chats to do the training? Because all data, whether it be synthetic, which is off what the AI creates, or whether it be real data, which is conversations between humans, like, it doesn't matter. They're both really valuable and you need both of them. You need to have access to both of them. So yeah, start a little bit with that. And then, like I said, my kind of 3 stages, which is your basic level security customization within your AI. And then we look at next level, which is creating your assistants, your AI assistants, your GPTs, your however else I think they're called agents in Copilot, that next level of personalized AI. And then we move to agent, what pre-trained agents can you create or work with? What agentic workflows can you create? And then we look a little bit of, I do think the differentiation is those that are using AI are good now. And I'm so pleased we are using AI, and especially since this time last year, it was hard work to get some people to even try. So the fact that they're using it is amazing, but where the big advantage is going to be is those that build with AI. That is going to be the difference. It was back in the revolution of industrial, it was those people that used the machines and then those people that built the machines. We know those that built the machines were the ones that were able to fly above everybody else. So it's the same with AI. Those that use AI are good. You'll stay ahead of the curve. You'll do your things, but those that build with AI will really make the impact. So we start to look a little bit about vibe coding, and then we look at agents and automations and so forth. But I tend to do it last because, one, it's probably not my superpower like yours, but 2, I do think in a lot of businesses, the systems are broken and no AI automation.
That's where I start. I look at the business operating system. I look at the SOPs. I look at where are the problems. So many businesses I see, the challenge is that the knowledge sits in the admin person's head, in the salesperson's head, and the marketer's head, and they know how to get the workflow from A to B to C, but it's not documented anywhere. And if it's not documented anywhere, that's your first massive risk, because that person then leaves and then you have to work it all out. So yeah, you may as well work it all out now Once you have it properly documented, then you can start the process, whether it's agentic or automation or whatever it is. But without that, you just don't get there.
No.
Yeah. So where do you think the next 6 months will take us?
Oh, yeah. So I think with your off-the-shelf large language models like Claude and ChatGPT, they have just gone and really upped the ability to use agent mode. So your Imagine's a perfect example on Claude. In Gemini, you can go to Google Studio for free and start building apps, which you can now share. And ChatGPT have just released their kind of connectors and their SDKs as well. Software Development Kit, it stands for. So it's definitely become more accessible. So I think the next 6 months is us at the, what I would call, and I don't love saying this, but I think it resonates with people, us non-techies. I think for us, the next 6 months is going to be exploring the capabilities of creating and building with AI. And personalizing your AI. That's where I think the next 6 months lies.
Yeah. I'm seeing such a challenge at the moment because people are not using the power of AI to save themselves time, and therefore use that time to learn more about how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this block against AI. Yeah, I don't want to use it. I can't use it. I'm just going to carry on. But if you start engaging it and start using it, then you can learn more about it. And so many people I start with, I say, "Oh, use this for your holidays, use it for your recipes, use this for, around, just get going, just start using it." Yeah, because once you plant the seed and you're like, "Oh, yes, I can do this, or I can do this, I can do this." Yeah, then you can actually start thinking about how this affects your business. It's a process. It's a process. I see people getting left behind at the moment. I see there's this gap widening, and I think there's a whole new career of the things that you're doing. Coming in and saying, "Okay, actually, I'm going to have to take your hand and hold your hand and move you through this process of learning." Yeah, so that people can shortcut it. Yes, and one of the excuses I hear quite often is, "I'm not going to learn now because in 6 months it's going to do it for me." It's getting more complicated in a different way, is the reality.
Yeah, no, spot on. I agree with all of that. But like, I just try and remind people, like, I come from an era of when I was at uni, I was using a BlackBerry. The BlackBerry's not around anymore. And it is a really super simple analogy, but I had to learn to use the smartphone. And it changed my complete operating system. It changed the way I access information, I communicate, and I make decisions. Everything is done through my smartphone.
Yeah.
The same is going to be with AI. So, stop putting your ego ahead and stop putting any blocks in there and address any fears you have. And of course, just like any technology, there's pros and cons. Social media, the amount of cons that are with there, that do they outweigh the pros? I'm not sure. But at the time, the pros were high for us all. And then as time went on, there were cons. So there's pros and cons to everything. I'm not saying that AI is going to solve everything and it all smells like roses. There are many issues, related to that. But at the end of the day, it is changing humans. It's changing humans. Generative AI is changing humans. So if it changes humans, it changes businesses and the economy and therefore life. That now is not the time to bury your head in the sand and make excuses and let fear get in the way. Now is the time to enjoy it, be creative, use it as, create yourself a little challenge about it. And like you said, enjoy the journey. I've got a little light behind me that says enjoy every moment. And every time I walk in, I turn it on. Every time I walk out, I look at it and I go, did I enjoy the moment of working today? Turn it off. Like, it's just little reminders that you do have to enjoy the journey, because we don't know whether we're here tomorrow, and sometimes we don't even know the positive impact that we have on people in our lives unless we're here and we're present. Yeah.
I think that's just one of the biggest blocks that I see, especially in businesses. And it's such a difficult one, so I'm really interested in your perspective. The element of security and the perception of security in AI is causing many people not to do AI. Yeah, it's insecure. I've had questions about people saying, "Yeah, but if I put my good idea into AI, then AI is going to know about it and somebody else is going to do it." And I come back to when I've been in IT for so long, your laptop, the settings on your Google, which is probably, if you don't turn them off, it's recording every conversation. your phone. Every single one of us has a conversation and suddenly things pop up on your feed, right?
Yeah.
What is your perception of the risks of the security element on AI? How do you mitigate those? The whole office is talking, everybody's using that ChatGPT from home, they're using Gemini, they're doing the control element that companies think they have isn't there. Yeah. Conversely to that, what is the actual risk of the security element in AI?
Yeah, a lot to unpick there, and I'm not sure I could give it in a structured way, but I'll just blurt out what I think. First of all, there's the education of it. Like, we have all learned on emails that if something seems like a spam, don't press the link. Like, it is, you have to learn that. You have to be told that. You have to, if you go into a corporate job, that's like the whole data security and that whole process on cybersecurity is one of your first trainings, because
Yeah.
because it's the same in using AI. It is, you should be on a paid version. If you're on a paid version, your data is encrypted anyway. It's only available on your cloud for 30 days as well. It's only saved for 30 days. And you can easily go into an AI, Perplexity is my favorite for this, and go in and say, I'm about to use this AI tool. What is the security issues? And it's just about upskilling yourself in that. And all you've got to do is ask the question. But it's the same. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you just have to learn these things. It's a very complicated field, but it's no different to email, to text spam, to people calling and trying to get money off you off the phone. It's the same thing. Like that, we just have to be really vigilant about it and understand that it's there. In terms of flipping it to the IP, I disagree with it. I want to be empathetic to the creative world, don't get me wrong. I totally do. And I think there are a lot of companies doing their best to try and encourage people not to use other people's intellectual property. So if I went in and said, I want to train a GPT on this book, it will say this book is copyrighted. There are steps like that available. But in terms of like intellectual property, once you put something out there to the world, yes, it is known to come from you, but anyone's going to be able to take that. Even if I go and read your book, say you deliver a book, I've paid to read your book, but I can take your ideas and I can put my own perspective on it and create what I like. Mel Robbins is one of my favorite motivational speakers. I don't know if you heard of her, but yeah. So one of her books, not 5, 4, 3, the concept Let Them, which is her last book, she openly says that's her perspective on something she learned from a personal development guru, which is she read, but that's her perspective. And she talks about how she uses it. So once it's out there, it's creative. I don't mean to be rude, but if you look at all the pop artists like Bruno Mars, he got his inspiration from Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And then he goes and creates a song, and it's his intellectual property, his copyright. I get that. But at the end of the day, everyone's learning off everybody. And I think AI just makes it a little bit more accessible, and it makes it a little bit more accessible for you to understand a concept from your perspective or the questions that you ask, which then allow you to produce something. So I don't know. Look, I have empathy around those in the creative world, those that create scripts, that there's been their own work up until now, and those that take pictures or draw artists and all of a sudden nano bananas recreating. I don't get it, because I'm not a creative from that perspective. I do empathize that it's tough, but I'm also a believe in abundance, and also I have a mindset that loves to create opportunities. So you can either sit there and you can complain and you can, I don't know, you can get upset about it and you can rally and you can do all those things. Absolutely. But you can also switch something in your mind that mindset that says, I have a superpower. I have a skill set. I am experienced. I am knowledgeable, and I have a perspective. What can I create? What opportunities can I create for myself to move me forward, to move the industry forward? It takes people like that in the world to step up, to allow us to get through tough times where we think that intellectual property is no longer safe. But yeah, if you're to go back to that, if you're on a paid version of any large language model, it's not using your data.
Yeah, and I think that we'll wrap up in a second. I think there's so much going forward, so much change going forward, that the only thing, again, that we can guarantee is massive change. And best just prepare yourself for it. And what do you say as a final kind of statement? What would you say is the best way for people to prepare themselves if they're haven't even looked at AI yet?
You got to start. You got to start. I'm not going to say delete Google, but because Google now has AI search, so it's fine. Instead of going to Google for things that you would go to Perplexity AI, download Perplexity, free version, use Perplexity instead of Google. Just start chatting with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, whichever one you choose. Just start chatting with it. Use the voice note and just start chatting with it once a day. Get ready to think about how you can be strategic using an AI. Remember, it's not an intern where you've got to give step-by-step instructions to. It's the smartest thing we've had access to. So just basically communicate. What is it that you think you want? And I say you think you want because my hubby will say something like, oh, if we have a takeaway or something, he'll say something like, oh, what takeaway do you want? And then I go, I don't know, you choose. And he'll say Indian. I'll go, oh no, I don't want an Indian. I don't know what I want until I don't want that. I just say we're humans. We think we want something, but we don't. Keep that in mind when you're talking to your AI as well, or you're asking for something. Just start to think about an outcome that you want and say the outcome that you want, and then let the magic happen around you. But remember that we have to use it ethically and add as much human interaction to the chat with your AI as possible. Get started. You won't regret it. And like you say, Roy, enjoy the journey.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll put all your contact details on the podcast. And we look forward to chatting in the future in 6 months' time and seeing what we actually have to say. Right?
Amazing. I look forward to it. Thanks, Roy.
All right.